Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today I want to be talking about some of the things I've started to get used to here in Kenya. Now I'm not going to say that I'm like completely used to these things because it is outside of my comfort zone and very different from what I'm used to. But I'm starting pole to get used to these things. So the first thing that is kind of shocking is the lack of personal space. At least it's a different kind of concept of personal space. In the US, we tend to have like 3 feet, I don't know exactly, but maybe like 3 feet between strangers. So if you go to like a bus, you always leave an empty seat. You always, in a movie theater, you don't sit next to the person. Maybe you can leave like 2 or 3 seats between people unless you have to push together. So that's kind of how the personal space I'm used to. But in Kenya, you sit next to people. Like literally your thighs and their thighs, they're just there together. And then even sometimes maybe there's like a child and you're in the matatu, you need to have even more space. You have a child on your lap, a stranger's child. So things like that can happen. And even you might think, oh, there's no more space for another person to come into this matatu. But there is. They will find a way to come in. So that's something that is still hard for me sometimes. Like I don't necessarily want to be touching people I don't know, just because that's what I'm used to. And also like in lines, if people are lining up at the supermarket or something, they're much closer than they would be back home. So the whole like 6 feet apart social distancing thing, not even close to happening. Like it's not even possible in this country. But yeah, it took me a while to get used to that. Something else is the fact that I don't understand a lot of what's going on as far as language, because people on the streets are speaking multiple languages, whereas back home you mostly hear English. I mean, sometimes people will speaking other languages, but it's, for the most part, you can kind of figure out what's going on here. It can be, it can be Swahili, it can be Kikuyu, Luo, Meru. I mean, there's so many different mother tongues. There's Sheng. There's people that are from like Arab countries and they're speaking Arabic, and so there's a lot going on. So even like on TV, on the radio, just expect that like things aren't going to be understood. And I'm starting to get used to that, and also the idea that people in the same conversation will switch between languages. So maybe they start off in English because I'm there, but then as they get more comfortable, they slide into Swahili, they slide into mother tongue, they come back into English, so it kind of goes all around. But again, it's kind of like a rhythm that you get used to the more you're here. I will say something that's still hard for me sometimes is the showers. So there are some showers that have like the hot and cold knobs, but I have not experienced that myself here in Kenya. What I experience is there's a switch outside of the shower, outside of the bathroom, you turn on, and then you have like you turn on the water, and whatever temperature of water you get is the temperature of water you get. So either if it's cold, you have to go very, very fast, or if it's hot, I tend to like turn off the water, turn it back on, turn it back off, just to try to not burn my skin. So it's kind of hard to get that perfect shower. Like back home, you spend so much time like, okay, let me just move the knobs just perfectly. Here, you just get what you get, so you kind of just go through it faster, I guess. But sometimes I just miss the perfect temperature shower. The driving in Kenya is not, okay, yes, there's the whole, like, they drive on the left side of the road kind of thing, but also there aren't that many rules to begin with. Although Dan would disagree. He's like, oh yeah, there's rules, but there's not that many compared to the US, and there's not that many road signs. Sometimes there's not lines painted on the roads, so just kind of, people just figure out how to get places, and it still amazes me. I haven't driven here, and so the idea of driving like on the superhighway where there's matatus that drive very aggressively and they go over, they drop people, they pick people up. So that kind of stuff still freaks me out. And bodas literally go wherever they want. Sidewalks, the wrong way on one-way streets, things like that. But again, no streets are ever marked one way. And you only find a couple stoplights in Nairobi. Maybe Mombasa has some stoplights, and you only find a couple like stop signs. So most of it is just the flow of traffic. Another thing is when you go to restaurants, they will give you a menu that has like 5 pages or 4 pages or maybe even just 1 page, but just know a lot of the places have like 5 items that are actually for sale. There's the chicken, fish, pork, beef options, I would say, and then you can have ugali, rice, chapati, and fries. That's basically what you can get at most restaurants. Even if they say they have hamburgers, they probably don't. They say pizza, don't bet on it. So it's one of those things, like, I get so excited because I see, oh, that sounds really good, and then you ask for it, they don't. So what's easier when I've gone to restaurants here is that I just learned to say, okay, what do you have? Instead of what don't you have? So just be prepared if you go to a restaurant in Kenya. Something else is that power outages are pretty common. It's not just the neighborhood I live in, it's literally everywhere. So I take online classes, and it's very common for people's power to come and go throughout the class, and the professor's power comes and goes. It's just something that happens. So that means Wi-Fi is coming and going all the time. Also, sometimes depending where you're at, your water might come and go. But that's just something that you learn to roll with the punches. You just expect it. You always have a candle nearby to light, or a flashlight, or they call it a torch. So you just come prepared for that. Okay, the other thing is the haggling, the bargaining, or whatever you want to call it, is the idea that if you ask for something and it's not in a supermarket, people will give you a price, and you're kind of allowed or expected to kind of talk it down. Not so much for transportation. That's not always negotiable, but sometimes it is, and I've done it, and I'm proud of myself. Hair flip. But yeah, if you go to the market, you can often haggle, especially if it's like for clothing, that kind of stuff. Oh, Dan has something to say. Yes, Dan?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Oh, you shut up.
I just came to keep you company.
Oh,
you are talking about bargaining?
yeah.
Yeah, there are some things, some places that cannot bargain, like supermarket you cannot bargain.
Right.
And,
that would be ridiculous.
Okay. Transportation you can bargain.
Sometimes, unless it's like a determined, like the matatu picks you up here and takes you off here, it's always 20 bob, it's always, you're not going to be like, how about 10 bob today? That's not going to work. Yeah.
Then the other things you can bargain.
Yeah.
The rest of the things you can bargain.
Yeah, so just know, especially if you're at a touristy place, definitely bargain. Because they're going to, if you're a foreigner, they're going to shoot the prices up so high.
That's true. If you're a foreigner, they can shoot even ×2.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
or even 3.
For instance, I bought a dress when I first moved to Kenya. I bought it, the same dress that my friend had bought. They charged me double. I bought it like a couple weeks after she bought it. And so when I went back, I was like, oh, I got the dress. I was so happy. She's like, oh, how much did you pay? I paid $27 and she paid $13.
Yeah, that's how they do to the tourists.
Right, and I had no idea, so I paid $27.
So come to Kenya, get someone who can, a Kenyan guy who can take you around or go with you to the market, because they will the price up for you. Yeah. Even
like in our situation, Dan often goes and asks the price for like the curtains or something that he'll buy in the market, and then I can go and be like, okay, great, this is the one I want. Because then he's already agreed this is how much it's going to be.
Yeah, because if she goes alone,
they'll raise it. Yeah,
that's how they are.
So those are things to know. Yeah. And then I think the other thing I want to talk about that I'm starting to get used to, but it's still weird to me, is my celebrity status.
I'm not talk about that.
You don't want to talk about that? You just came in for the haggling. So, because I am a foreigner and I stand out, definitely like where I live, the places I go, I'm usually the only white person around. So I definitely stand out, and because of that, I get, a lot of people will stare at me, or they'll like giggle when they see me, or they'll talk to me, or they'll like be just, it's obvious. Wherever I go, it's very noticeable, and so that feeling of like everything that I do is kind of being watched by people, it feels a little uncomfortable. I'm not saying that's what it's like in all of Kenya, because there are places where there's more diversity, but where I live specifically, it's not, and so I do get that feeling of, okay, I went there and I complained that at a restaurant I complained about something because it wasn't okay, and then now I feel like everyone's like, oh, that's what that one like white lady that we know did that thing. So even around the neighborhood, you know, at the supermarket, they know me. Everyone knows who I am around here now. So for watching, everyone. That is our show, our video today. Hope you've enjoyed, and please subscribe or comment if you like this video, or all three. Thanks so much.